The Ryzen 7 5800X3D is a unicorn of a CPU. It can keep up with the i9-12900K and Ryzen 7 7700 in gaming despite being a last-gen CPU. For budget gamers who don't have a lot of money to spend on the latest LGA 1700 or AM5 platform, the 5800X3D is the way to go. So if you were looking to build a brand new PC under $900, I have put together a PC build with the 5800X3D that will play any game at 1080p 60 frames per second. The first question that would pop into anyone's mind is what GPU will go in. At a tight budget, I always reach out to the RX 6600 for its unbeatable value. At $199, it can play any game at 1080p without breaking a sweat. You can go with any variant of the 6600, but the Gigabyte Eagle is the cheapest one. Even at a low price, it has a pretty overkill cooler, and the GPU never hits above 70 degrees Celsius. For a motherboard that covers all the essentials and saves $1, I went with a micro ATX motherboard, the ASRock B550M Pro 2, which simply focuses on practicality. For just $100, you get a board that comes with a solid 8-phase VRM configuration and has a decently sized heatsink, so even a stock 5950X should have no problems running on this. For a motherboard this affordable, it still comes with a great set of rear I/O, including a fast USB Type-C port, 4 DIMM slots, a reinforced PCIe 4.0x16 slot for the graphics card, and 2 M2 slots. For the SSD and RAM, I went with 2 options that are both extremely fast and affordable. The Sabrent Rocket 4.0 is a 1TB PCIe 4.0 M2 SSD that has great read and write speeds of around 4 to 5 GB per second. And for RAM, the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16GB 2x8GB DDR4 3200 CL16 is my favorite DDR4 kit. It is hard to find a kit that balances speed, capacity, and a price tag of under $40. My recommendation for the PSU will always be a strong unit that will grant total peace of mind. For this PC, I picked the Corsair CX650M. It is perfectly adequate for this build, and even has a lot of room for much more powerful GPUs. I would even run the RX 6800 XT on this without any worries. Moving to the PC case, if you're ever in a situation where you want a high-quality case that can fit even the biggest components without airflow problems, but you cannot spend a lot on it, then the Zalman S2 is your savior. Sure, the design isn't going to turn heads, but it is solidly constructed with a minimalistic design, and it even comes pre-installed with 3 120mm fans. It is simply impossible to find a mid-tower case with a better value than the Zalman S2. Finally, for the cooler, I went with the ID Cooling SE214XT. ID Cooling is rising as the champion among super budget coolers. The SE214XT is mind-bogglingly cheap at just $19 and can offer the same level of cooling performance as the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE. The Peerless Assassin already impressed me, but ID Cooling simply outclassed them in terms of value. The lower cost of the SE214XT does show, as it is incredibly audible at heavier loads, where the Assassin isn't. Even then, it is completely acceptable, and you'd be hard-pressed to find an air cooler this cheap that can cool an 8-core CPU with ease. In conclusion, the 5800X3D and RX 6600 are an odd pairing, but together it is clear that they are unmatched near the $850 budget. This budget PC has plenty of room for upgrades as well if your budget allows it in the future. You can check all the components mentioned in the description.